Okay, I'm just going to chat you through the coordinate geometry bubble because it's quite straightforward. So some of the wee bits and pieces you need to have in this wee bubble is the midpoint. The midpoint is the average x and the average y. So for example, if I wanted the midpoint of 3 minus 2 and minus 2 minus 6, I would add the x's, so 3 add minus 2, and then divide by 2, so it's a half. And I do the same with the y's. So minus 6 add minus 2 is minus 8 divided by 2 is minus 4. So that's the midpoint. The length of a line is the difference of the x's squared plus the difference of the y squared square rooted. It's just like Pythagoras' theorem. So if I wanted the length of this line here, between 3 minus 2 and minus 2 minus 6, it'd be the difference of the x's. So 3 minus minus 2, so that's 5 squared. The difference of the y's, minus 3, that should be a minus. So minus 2 minus 6 becomes minus 2 plus 6, which is 4. So 4 squared is 16. So it's going to be the square root of 41. Okay, so midpoint, length of line. Then you have equations of the lines. There are two. Y equals mx plus c, or y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. M is always the gradient. That's the steepness. It's the difference in the y's divided by the difference in the x's. C is the y-intercept where it crosses the y-axis. And you see this x1, y1. That's just a point that the line goes through. Then we have at the very top here special graphs. X equals 1 goes through the x-axis at 1. Y equals 1 goes through the y-axis at 1. And y equals x is a diagonal line. If you have to draw a graph, you pick your x's and work out the y's. So if I wanted to draw the graph y equals 10 minus 2x, I pick a couple of x's. So I picked 0 and 3, put them in. So it's 10 minus 0 is 10, and putting in 3. 10 minus 6 is 4, and just plot it. So when x is 0, y is 10, and when x is 3, y is 4, and just plot it up. Now, I'm just going to have a wee chat with you through the questions I've written out, just to make sure you're okay following those. You might want to pause this as you go through it, and then answer it. Find the equation of a line parallel. Well, that means it's the same gradient to this line. Now, first of all, I'm going to write that in the form of y equals. So if I bring that across, I get y equals minus x positive 4. So that tells me the gradient is minus 1. So the gradient of my line is minus 1. Okay? It passes through the point 2, 0. So I can use either this equation or this one. I tend to use this one quite a bit. Okay, you have your gradient worked out over here is minus 1. You know what goes through this point, so x is 2 and y is 0. And then you just tidy it up. Number 2, find the equation passing through these ones. Okay, so equation of a line, there's my structure. Remember, m is a gradient, so it's the difference in the y's over the difference in the x's. So 2, take away 8 over minus 4 minus 4. So it's minus 6 over 0. This is a problem. If you have a gradient with 0 in the bottom, if you put that into your calculator, minus 6 over 0, it comes up an error. So what that means is this graph must go straight up off to infinity. Have we look here? Let's plot it on. X is minus 4 and y is 2. X is minus 4, y is 2 is there. And x is minus 4, y is 8. So the line goes straight up. So that line is actually x equals minus 4. Number 3, find the equation perpendicular. Now, perpendicular, we just go back over to our initial page. Could you add on perpendicular gradient? So perpendicular gradient equals minus 1 over m. So I want the perpendicular gradient of the line going through these. So I can find out the gradient of this line. So difference in y's over difference in x's. So it's minus 4 over 3. Okay, so that's the gradient worked out. So find the equation of the line. So there's my structure and there's my gradient. I know my gradient is minus 4 over 3, so that follows there. But this line goes through 0, 4. So put x to be 0 and your y to be 4. 1 over a fraction means turn it upside down, so that's the same as 3/4, and then just tidying that up. Number 4 is quite tricky. In number 4, you're trying to find the perpendicular bisector. So bisector means a midpoint. Perpendicular means minus 1 over m. Okay, there's my equation of a line. So I need to work out the m. Here's my 2 points. Go over to the side and work out the m, difference in y's over difference in x's. So your m is minus 4 over 3. So remember what I said about 1 over a fraction, just turn it upside down and 2 minuses become positive. Bisector means you need the midpoint. So remember how to find the midpoint? Add the x's, minus 1 add 5, divide by 2, and then 6 add minus 2, divide by 2. So put in your x1 and your y1, and then just tidy it up. Now, over in this, 3 more to go. Which of the following lines does this point lie on? If you're ever asked this question, what you're going to do is take this point and sub it in. So put in x to be 4 and y to be minus 1. So x to be 4 and y is minus 1. X to be 4 and y to be minus 1. Let's see if it works out. Does minus 1 equal 8 take away 9? Yes. So that point, it lies in that line. Does minus 1 equal 4 plus 7? No. Does 4 plus minus 1 equals 5? No. Does minus 1 equals 3 take away 4? Yes. So those are the lines that work. Number 6, quite a tricky one here. The points 1, minus 2 and 5, 6 form the diameter of a circle. So I drew it out and just put the points on. Find the centre. The centre is going to be the middle of the diameter. So it's the midpoint. So add the x's, divide by 2, add the y's, divide by 2. You want the radius. Now if you work out the length of the diameter and then divide it by 2, that will get you the radius. So how do you find the length between 2 points? Well, it's the difference in the x's squared and the difference in the y's squared. Add it up and then square root. The radius is going to be half of that. Now, for number 7, we're drawing 5 different graphs. For the first one, I've done in black. The steepness is 4, that's the gradient, and it crosses the y-axis at minus 3. So it's the red line. So go down to minus 3 on the y-axis, put wee x there. If you go across one box, you go up 4. That gets you the next point, just join them up. For this one here, I chose x to be 0. So if x is 0, 2y is 6, so y is 3. So there's my first point. 0, 3. There's 0. Then I chose x to be 6, because if you have x to be 6, y has to be 0. So 6, 0. Sorry, I had it the wrong way around there. 0, 3, and 6, 0. There's my blue line. For this one here, excuse me, I did it with table, choosing the x values. Oh, excuse me. I rewrote it as y equals, and then subbed in the x values. Excuse me. And the last one, x equals 4, and y equals minus 2.